This hasn't gone well. I think I was muted for that entire opening spiel, so I'm going to do that again. Oh, this is going to be fun editing this video afterwards. Hello. Welcome to quiz in week 8. The quiz in week 8? The quarantine quiz in week 8, whatever. We've had some technical difficulties, not just the sound, but also I started late. That was because I forgot to close apps before I started the stream, which I had to do. But that's all done now. In a similar vein, because I was unprepared, I haven't actually worked out who won yet. So I will, in an exciting twist, confirm that midway through the quiz, hopefully, when I've managed to work it out, if my computer will let me both check winners and stream the quiz at the same time. We'll see. This will be very exciting. It might cause some choppy audio, I think, or video, but hopefully it's still doable, the quiz, because the questions are at least up on the screen. Let me know in the chat if there are any problems. As ever, the chat is over there. If you're on desktop and somewhere probably on mobile or on smart TV or anything else. Without further ado, let's get on to round 1. As ever, if you write down your questions in advance, if you type your questions as you're doing the quiz, that's really sensible, because it means that when it comes to the final submission, you can just copy and paste. I'll give you the link to submit, as ever, at the end of the quiz. So round 1, as ever, is a warm-up round, where I've just got some general questions for you, and I want you to tell me the answers, because that's what a quiz is. Question 1. In which city would you find museums dedicated to the works of Henri Matisse and Marc Chagall? In which city would you find museums dedicated to the works of Henri Matisse and Marc Chagall? Question number 2. Which DreamWorks film, released in the same year as Pixar's A Bug's Life, was part of a feud between the two companies owing to the film's similarity? Which DreamWorks film, released in the same year as Pixar's A Bug's Life, was part of a feud between the two companies owing to the film's similarity? Question number 3. Which standard for wireless communication was named as a pun on a term used to describe audio reproduction? Which standard for wireless communication was named as a pun on a term used to describe audio reproduction? Question 4. Which song by the Kinks was written in reference to the tax policies of Harold Wilson's government? Which song by the Kinks was written in reference to the tax policies of Harold Wilson's government? The Beatles also had a song in reference to those tax policies, that song being Taxman. Question 5. Ignore the number there. This is indeed question 5. Which band's singles include I Will Wait and Little Lion Man? Which band's singles include I Will Wait and Little Lion Man? And that should be question 6. The practitioners of which art movement included Hugo Ball, Man Ray, and Marcel Duchamp? The practitioners of which art movement included Hugo Ball, Man Ray, and Marcel Duchamp? That's question 6, not 5. 6. I think the numbering settles down on the next one. I remember noticing a problem, but I thought it was just one many. Question 7, there we go. Which office supplies company donated its last UK-made typewriter to the Science Museum in London in 2012? Which office supplies company donated its last UK-made typewriter to the Science Museum in London in 2012? Question 8. Which episode of Doctor Who introduced the fat-based villains known as the adipose? Which episode of Doctor Who introduced the fat-based villains known as the adipose? And finally, question 9. Which religious order takes its name from the village of Cîteaux in France? A very French spin on these questions this week. Which religious order takes its name from the village of Cîteaux in France? And finally, question 10. Complete this song title from My Fair Lady with the correct spelling. Wouldn't it be blank? Complete this song title from My Fair Lady with the correct spelling. Wouldn't it be blank? I don't normally care about spelling, but on this question I do. Still don't have answers. Still don't have, a winning team for you from last week, and I'd like to get that sorted. So I'm just going to put a slide up for round 2 while I still work on this. So for round 2, the theme is borders. Which country borders the countries in each list and no others? Leave it on that slide for 1 second. Okay, so I missed that one, got the marking done, obviously. But round 2, question 1. So which country borders Mexico and Canada and no others? So Mexico and Canada. I don't think there's any country that borders Mexico, Canada, and somewhere else, but for some of these, it might be ambiguous if you take it that way. So it's which country borders Mexico and Canada and no others. Question 2. Brazil and Argentina. Brazil and Argentina. Question 3. Algeria and Libya. Algeria and Libya. Question number 4. Nicaragua and Panama. Nicaragua and Panama. Question 5. Haiti. Just Haiti. Question 6. Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Côte d'Ivoire. Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire there is more commonly known in English as Ivory Coast, but a few years ago it officially adopted that its name, whatever your language, was Côte d'Ivoire, the French form of the name. Question 7. Burundi, Tanzania, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Burundi, Tanzania, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Section there are 2 countries that are just called Congo. There's the Republic of the Congo, and there's the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Democratic one is what used to be called Zaire, until it changed its name. Question 8. South Africa. Just South Africa. Question 9. India and Myanmar. India and Myanmar. And finally, for this round, question 10, Saudi Arabia. Which country borders just Saudi Arabia? So that's the end of round 2. I'm afraid I still don't have a winner for last week. I really should prepare this in advance. Normally I do. But for round 3, when I take this slide off, I'll show you a prop for this one. I'll show you the prop now. So, for round 3, After I've given you a bit of a hint there, so I told you what the round is if you looked at the screen. But after I think the first quiz, I had a round with countries where record-breaking things were, and someone very kindly sent me the Guinness Book of Records. But this isn't as you can probably tell, this is not the recent Guinness Book of Records in full colour. No, this is the Guinness Book of Records that was released in October 1968, when the book was still connected to the Guinness Brewery. So, what I would like you to do, I've looked through this book, and I found some world records as of October 1968, and I want you to tell me who or what held the world records at that time. So I don't need to know the record, so if it was the tallest something, I don't need to know how tall it was, I just know who or what held the record. There's a few stipulations for certain questions, mostly to make it a bit easier, because I know this is a very hard round. So, let's go on with question 1. So, as of October 1968, what was the largest shop? What was the largest shop? Question 2. Who had the most golden records? Who had the most golden records? I'm pleased to know I will at the end of this round be able to tell you who won last week. There were 2 points in it between first and second place, so very close. Question 3: who had the most honorary degrees? Who had the most honorary degrees as of October 1968? Question 4: who held the record for the fastest men's marathon? And that's over any course. The book notes that at the time there was no official men's marathon record run by the IAAF, or assume the IAAF existed then, not sure. But anyway, no official record was kept because of the variation between courses. I think there are still some stipulations as to which courses count. Yes, there was still, the book did still say who had the fastest marathon of any course, and I want you to tell me who that is. Apparently the IAAF isn't called that anymore, it's called World Athletics now. When did that change? A year ago. Sure. And yeah, it's called the IAAF from its foundation in 1912-ish onwards. Anyway, there you go. Question 5. So, who had the record for the longest space flight? Now, the book doesn't clarify whether this is distance or time. I've therefore assumed that it was either. And either holder will do. There are 2 people who flew on that longest flight, and I will take either as a valid answer. Question number 6. So which was the longest single-span bridge in the world? So there was a longer bridge, but it had multiple spans, as that implies. So the longest single-span bridge. The longer bridge, obviously, is a slightly more impressive record, but I thought it was more likely you'd have heard of this one. So. Question 7. Which was the highest capacity football stadium? So football is in soccer here. I don't know if there were larger American football or Australian rules football, or indeed rugby football stadia, but the highest capacity stadium used for football or soccer. Question number 8. The longest road. The longest road. So I will tell you, it counts this as the longest road, but it did have a gap in it, and it still has a gap to this day. But it's still counted as one long road with the same name. Question 9. The country that sends the most telegrams, or sent, I suppose, the country that sent the most telegrams, so then per year. This is not a record that I believe in modern versions of the book. And question 10. The country with the largest population. Country with the largest population. And that's it. So we're now on, as ever, to our 4th round, which is a theme round. And since the start of May, I did a May round. I figured that at the start of June, I would do a June round. It's a little bit harder to think of questions for June, it turns out. It may not be the same for July, if indeed we're still going with quarantine quizzes in July. Probably. But let's go. Oh, apologies. I said at the end of round 3, I would announce who had won last week's quiz. And, of course, very close. As I said, there were 2 points in it. I can tell you that with 29 out of 40 in second place were the book lovers, which means that with 31 out of 40, the winners were the Right Honourables. Great team name. So, round 4 was the theme round, as I say. It's a June round. So, question 1. In any given year, no month starts on the same day of the week as June. So, of course, today is the first day of June. No other month this year will start on a Monday, which is the only other month to have this property. So, in any given year, no month starts on the same day of the week as June, which is the only other month to have this property. Question 2. Which 2 astrological signs occur during the month of June? Which 2 astrological signs occur during the month of June? This is the conventional ones that you would find in horoscopes. To the extent that there is a conventional astrology. Periodically, NASA notes the sun doesn't actually rise in the traditional star signs anymore. Apparently, astrologers have decided that that's hokum, and that they will be sticking with the long-established star signs. Question 3. In which musical would you find the song June is bustin' out all over. In which musical would you find the song June is bustin' out all over? There's also a musical theme to this round, which I sort of didn't intend, but kind of happened as it went on. It turns out a lot of the questions about June relate back to musicals in lots of different ways. Apologies for that. Hopefully it's still accessible, even if you hate musicals. Question 4. The June movement was a Eurosceptic political party in which country? It took its name from a referendum on the Maastricht Treaty held there in 1992. The June movement was a Eurosceptic political party in which country? It took its name from a referendum on the Maastricht Treaty held there in 1992. There was a June list named after it in turn. In fact, there still is, I think, in another country. We're not looking for that one, we're looking for the original June movement as opposed to June list. It's also not called that in its original language, I'll tell you that. The English translation, I think giving you the language might give it away. Question 5. The events of which novel, which was the basis for a musical of the same name, largely take place during the June Rebellion? The events of which novel, which was the basis for a musical of the same name, largely take place during the June Rebellion? Five questions to go. Here's question 6. Dame June Whitfield played which fictional detective in a series of radio dramas, adapted from all 12 of the novels featuring the character? Dame June Whitfield played which fictional detective in a series of radio dramas, adapted from all 12 of the novels featuring the character? Question 7. June Island, off the coast of Antarctica, is in which group of islands? They are named after an explorer with the same surname as the namesake of a chain of department stores. June Island, off the coast of Antarctica, is in which group of islands? They are named after an explorer with the same surname as the namesake of a chain of department stores. They are not named after the founder of the chain of department stores, I'm sorry to say. Question 8. The actress June Havoc was the younger sister of which burlesque performer? Her memoirs, that is, the burlesque performers, were adapted into a musical by Jules Stein and Stephen Sondheim. The actress June Havoc was the younger sister of which burlesque performer? The latter's memoirs were adapted into a musical by Jules Stein and Stephen Sondheim. And we have 2 questions to go. Just give you a slight pause before I go on to the next one. Question 9. Which character was played by June Brown in the BBC soap EastEnders? Brown announced in 2020 that she had left the role at the age of 93. Which character was played by June Brown in the BBC soap EastEnders? Brown announced in 2020 that she had left the role at the age of 93. She announced that before coronavirus suspended filming, I think. So BBC said that her dressing room was still for her if she wanted it. She was free to return. And finally, question 10. In June 1980, band ABBA released an album recorded entirely in which language? The title was the appropriate translation of Thank You for the Music. In June 1980, the band ABBA released an album recorded entirely in which language? The title was the appropriate translation of Thank You for the Music. And that is it for this week's quarantine quiz. So, what should you do to submit? Well, by midnight tomorrow night, so the 2nd of June 2020, if you're not watching this on live, you should go to www.alexquiz.fun/submit, where you will find a form where you can submit your team name, which I will read out if you win, or indeed if you're highly placed and I decide to, and also your answers, which are in a big box. So if you type your answers, you can just copy and paste them into there. I would say please do so by midnight tomorrow night. If you don't, then I'll just get somewhat confused. Nothing particularly will happen. But that's it. So, thank you very much for joining me, as ever, for this quiz. I don't actually know if I'll do one next week. Maybe, because I have had a private commission, so to speak, for a quiz next week. So I may skip next week, as writing 80 questions is a little bit crazy. The best way to find out whether or not I'm doing one, of course, is to click that subscribe button at the bottom, somewhere around. Click the subscribe button, and also click the little bell, because then you'll get a notification when I create a stream video, I think, hopefully. Also, if you put the like button below the quiz, if you enjoyed this, doesn't do anything in particular, just makes me feel nice. As ever, feel free to comment below. If you do comment, I'll try and reply. And that's it. So, thank you again for joining. I'll put the instructions up on how to submit before I end the stream. Have a great week.